Hello everyone, should you buy a car? And if so, what's the maximum price you should pay for it? That's what we are talking about today. I'm outside of Japan and I'm renting a car, hence the change of scenery. It's very easy to overpay for a car, and this could prevent you from investing in your future or repaying a loan. It has consequences. So let's talk about it, and first, let's start driving. Car ownership in the US is at 92%, 84% in Canada where I'm currently, and 77% in Japan. Sounds like everybody needs a car. Actually, the situation depends on where you're living. If you're living outside of New York, Chicago or San Francisco in the US, you have very few convenient public transportation options and you do need a car. Is the same case in Canada. In Japan, on the contrary, public transportation is really well developed if you live in cities, and you almost never need to use your car except if you're working with a car. It means that their cars spend most of their time in the parking lot, very little used. What a waste of money for such an expensive asset. That's why, personally, I do not own a car in Japan. When I really need a car, I do car rental or car sharing. That being said, I'm very fortunate to have access to very good public transportation and not needing a car every day for work. And that's not the case for everybody. So now, let's look at a few rules of thumbs in case you need a car to know how much you should pay, and more importantly, how you should avoid overpaying for a car. The first rule is called the rule of 35%. Basically, it says that the price of your car should not exceed 35% of your annual gross income. If you are making $59,000 in the US, which is the most recent average, your car should not be more expensive than $20,650. If you are making the average annual income of 4.6 million yen, the car you can afford is a maximum of 1.6 million yen. Ideally, you would like to pay cash for your car. Why? Because cars depreciate very, very quickly. It loses 10% as soon as you drive out of the lot of your car dealership, and up to 50% within 5 years. Do you really want to be paying a loan for something that has lost so much value? It makes more sense to pay cash for an older car. I know, the price of second-hand car has gone through the roof, but still, it may make more sense. That being said, if you're making $59,000 a year and you are about to buy a car that's $20,000 or $21,000, you probably cannot buy it by cash. And same for Japan, if you're making 4.6 million, you can probably not buy outright a 1.6 million yen car. Therefore, you're going to need financing. That brings us to our second rule, the 10-20 rule. You should not spend more than 10% of your after-tax monthly income on your car payment, and no more than 20% of your monthly after-tax income on your overall transportation cost. And that includes your car payment as well as gas, maintenance, insurance, and other miscellaneous. So that brings us to rule number 3, which is the 20-4-10. 20 stands for 20% down payment, so you get better loan conditions. 4 is 4 years long term, and 10% is 10% of your monthly gross income on transportation costs. I know that's a lot of percentages across those 3 rules of thumb, so what I propose is to go step by step while looking at the screen on a spreadsheet. Let's get started. Let's look at the screen together. What you're gonna see in gray is automatically calculated and your input is gonna be in blue. Again, I'm gonna leave a link to this spreadsheet in the comment down below so you can do your own calculations on your own, and this spreadsheet is in US dollars, but actually there's a tab in Japanese yen in case it's better for you, so you really have a lot of flexibility. The first part we want to do is your gross income. We had our first example with $59,000, so that's what we are doing, and automatically based on our 35% rule, we found out that the maximum car you can afford is $20,650. So that gives us a good start. We continue and we go down and we look at the deposit and the car loan needed. If you are going with a $20,650 car and you get the 20% rule, then your deposit amount is $4,130, meaning that your loan is $16,520. So you need to finance that. So let's continue. We look at the loan details, and here immediately you know you need $16,520 for a 4-year term. So that's our 20-4-10 rule, which tells us that your annual repayment is going to be $4,130. So let's go at the details of the loan itself. Again, a $16,520 loan. So you need your interest rate. It's going to vary depending on your own situation, how much money you're making, where you're living, your credit score, all of things. We're going to take an example at 5%, and you can vary that depending on your own situation. So here, 5%, which gives us a monthly interest rate of 0.42%. This is going to be very important for afterwards. Let's continue. Payment frequency is 12. It's a monthly frequency for 4 years, which means that we're going to have 48 months to pay. So your monthly payment is going to be $380. Let's look at a summary of payment for our loan. We pay a monthly payment of $380, which tells us that in 1 year we're going to pay $4,565, out of which $3,826 are the principal payments and $739 are the interest rate. The way you can see all the details as it's written on screen is that we have a car loan amortization table that I'm briefly showing you now, where you have all the details by month for a total of 48 months, and every month you reduce your total balance up to the point that you arrive at month 48 with a balance of 0. You'll have all the details. This one is for US dollars, you have one for Japanese yen as well. Let's go back to our table. Let's look at our income for the next step. We know our gross income is $59,000. To know our income after tax, you need to make your own calculation. I'm putting a link here to the IRS in the US so you can calculate your federal tax. I'm not going into your state tax, which varies a lot, so you're gonna have to make a little bit of calculation on your own, but that gives you an idea of how this is working. After tax annual income is gonna leave you with $53,170, which is a monthly income after tax, which is $4,439. So now that we have that, let's go to our car monthly usage cost. We need insurance, let's say about $200. This is going to vary for all of you, but let's go for that. Gas or electricity if you have an EV car, and you can see now that I enjoyed a lot driving my Tesla that I'm renting now in Canada. The cost is really low, but your mileage might vary depending on the cost of electricity and the type of car and the type of driving you're doing. Let's continue. $200 here for gas, maintenance, let's say $100 a month, and others can be towing, can be a ticket, let's say $50, which gives us a total of $550 of usage cost. That's on top of your repayment. So now comes the time. Can you afford the car? Let's sum everything up. Our monthly payment should not be over 10% because that's our 10-20 rule. So here we set up 10%. Monthly target car payment should be $443, and we see that our calculated car payment is $380, so we are fine with a difference of $63. So we're under the target. Very good here. Now let's continue. So our car usage cost should not be over 10%, should be between 5 and 10% based on our 10-20 rule. So here I put 10%. We know that the target therefore should be $443. We just calculated $550, sorry. So now we are over by $107, which gives us a target monthly car payment of $886. So $20% in total, sorry. But we calculated a total of $930, which is our monthly car payment of $380, plus our monthly usage car cost of $550, meaning we are $44 over per month compared to our target. So now that tells us that based on our rules, you cannot afford this car. You are over by $44. You can adjust a bit, but at least that gives you a little bit of an idea of how you can be doing those kind of things. I hope this is helpful. Do not forget that we have the same in Japanese here based on our 4.6 million yen annual income and a price of a car of 1.6 million. And again, we have an amortization table also in Japanese yen, and all of this is based on the monthly interest or the annual interest that's based in Japan. All of this move a lot, it's up to you, but that gives you a good idea of whether or not you can afford the car and you can play around and not get into trouble. Having a car is convenient, and it can also be fun if you're a car enthusiast or like driving, like me, but it's a depreciating asset, as we just saw. That's why you need to make the difference between the car you want and the car you can afford to avoid getting into financial trouble. Do not hesitate to like and subscribe for more content like this one. And if you want to dig deeper into investing and money management, you have this playlist here or that video here. Go ahead, click and watch. Thank you for watching, and until next time, goodbye.